and welcome to the Legacy Garden class. We have two wonderful master gardeners here that are going to be talking about pollinator gardens. So I will let them introduce themselves.
Yep.
Thank you so much for being here.
Well, it's our pleasure.
Yes.
My name's Judy, Cortesi, Judy, and I've been a master gardener for the County of Lake for 15 years. And Louise, introduce yourself.
I'm Louise Pagone, and I've been a master gardener since 2016, most of it here in Lake County, probably for the last 9.5 years.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about pollinating for your garden, and flowers and vegetables both need to be pollinated. Insects do most of it, wind does some of it, birds do a little bit, and hummingbirds, you all know hummingbirds, right? And besides your feeder that you stick out on your front porch, they actually do in here. With this is a perfect example here for bees and for any of the pollinators for this demonstration right here. And bees get in here and they just rub against one another, the stamen and the pistil, and they pollinate. On fruit and vegetables, that's what makes the fruit and vegetable. Flowers, they do it to make seeds for the next year on these flowers that you're seeing here, or pretty much any flower. We were trying to figure out which ones do not get pollinated, and there's like the one we came up with, like a cherry tree needs a female male, kiwis need a female male plant, different, not on the flower itself, but very few in nature, and domestically they all need pollination, of course. And if you have any questions as we go along, just feel free to ask. But yeah, back to the diagram here. The way to remember the male parts from the female parts is the stamen has men in it, M-E-N at the end, and so that is the male part of the flower, and then the petals are just a shield for environment, wind, rain, because everything is going to protect the stamen and pistil in the middle so they can reproduce like anything else in nature. And then so the diagram is really great, and you can see that what kind of flower is this?
Geranium.
Geranium. Okay, geranium. And it so the bees actually, or a pollinator, will land in here, and you've all seen it, I'm sure, that when they go inside the flower and they just move around, that's making the pollen fall on the male part or the female part, and then that makes, eventually at the end of the year, will make the seed whatever it is, or pretty much make all the seeds. And
Yes. Oh, got a question.
How do you know that it's a male and a female part?
Did you get one of these?
Yes.
Okay. So stamen on M-E-N at the end means male. It's male part.
Okay.
That's the way I always remembered it. And then the pistil here is the female part. And so when the insect, let's refer to them as bees, come in and they land in here and they just wiggle around, and then they pollinate themselves, and then the wind can pollinate it when they blow. But like I said, the petals do a lot of covering, so the stamen and pistil will always remain intact for the beating of the sun. Yesterday we had, I don't know where you all live, but yesterday we had pounding rain. I got almost 2 inches of rain at my house. And so the petals are for protection here. And you know, this is how a flower works. It's the same on vegetables that need flowers to, you know, cucumbers would be a great example because it's a long vine, and the little flowers are off the vines of the, and then it makes, when they're pollinated, it makes little cucumbers. You've seen that on a cucumber vine. And tomatoes, the same thing. They come with a bee or a pollinator, and it wiggles on the flower, and it falls, and then it scientifically does its making a fruit. And we have all these great handouts here, and if you have any questions, just keep asking them. But you want to say something?
Well, there is one vegetable that does, besides kiwis, that does need to produce is tomatillos, of all things.
Oh yeah, tomatillos.
We had a Master Gardener question a few years ago. A gentleman called up. He said, I don't know what's going on with my tomatillo. I buy one every year. It's huge. It flowers, and then I don't get a thing. So Gabrielle and I started looking, and we couldn't find anything until finally in not the University of California, but in Rodale, which is a publishing company that has done a lot with organic farming. They are a wealth of information. And sure enough, there it was. If you want to have tomatillos, you need 2. And there's no male, female like a kiwi. It's just they need 2. And so we told the gentleman, and I'm hoping that he's had lovely tomatillos ever since. So yeah, it was one of those things where you think, what? And yeah, so you never quite know. And I tried to find other things, and it kept giving us all these native, like native plants that aren't really food. So it was like, I don't think anyone cares about this right now. So, but yeah.
So on the diagram, you'll see the filament, which actually holds the stamen, the male part here. Down here it says filament, and there's a diagram that shows. And then the stamen and the style is over here. It's part of the pistil, and then the stamen has these 2 parts to it, and all together it will reproduce and make seeds, and you can collect them for next year. Yeah.
After the flower blooms, is there a time limit for it to be pollinated?
After they've died, they've pretty much pollinated.
Yeah.
And then you let them get really brown, and then you'll see the seeds. It takes a long time for the seeds to form. It depends on kind of what it is. This one will just make individual, off of each petal will make an individual little seed pod. And then what I normally do is, you always work with paper, like envelopes and stuff like that, because plastic's no good to put these in because they'll mold. So you put them in an envelope, and you name it, because you always say you'll remember the name, and you never do. And take that from a lot of experience here. And so you can, when they get brown, you just can snip them and put them. I just put them in an envelope and name them, and then the next spring, you just take the envelope and you shake it, and all the seeds just fall out, and you have from this from the year before. And there's really no flower this is borscht, and these make a million. These become a little weedy, and you're doing a very good job of not having them everywhere.
And they are all over here. The blue flower, that's all forage.
Yeah, and it's a municipal herb, and they're beautiful, as you can see. And but if you need to really pay attention to them because they will sprout. These seeds are very prolific and they'll sprout everywhere. Botanical name on this one?
I don't know what that
Okay.
is.
Oh, it's the yellow and orange ones over there.
Oh, the blanket flower.
We call them blanket flowers, but
Gaillardia?
yeah.
I never quote.
Oh yeah, Gaillardia's right. And
Yeah.
so these will get black
Another
seeds inside. When this turns brown, there wasn't any. This was the closest I could get to being a seed, but there's seeds in here. Not now, but there will be. And then when you put this in an envelope and you just shake it next spring, you'll have all kinds of little tiny black seeds. Okay, so these are your beautiful poppies here, which are extremely reseed quite a bit. And this is just after the flower here, and then this is more developed. And if you just cut this when it's brown, or now, I don't know, there'll be seeds in here, but they make seeds, and yeah, here's green ones. So you can see, I'll leave this up here and you can see the green, but they're supposed to be black, but of course this is too early in the year.
You can pass it around maybe.
Yeah, you want to pass it around and see it.
Yeah.
These are all.
And just in the irony of everything, because we're always on the lookout for invasive species in California and trying to keep things, kind of as close to what it's supposed to be like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was watching a video somewhere, and it turns out that someone
We're
in
talking
South
about
America
all of
really
them, so
likes
take whatever you want.
poppies and brought a whole bunch of seeds back down, and it's now considered invasive, I think, in like Argentina and Chile. It's not something they're happy to see like we are, which I thought was kind of funny. Who'd know, right?
Fruit trees do pretty much the same thing after they flower to get a peach or a plum or apple. And if you go like in Upper Lake at certain times, you can pull over and the orchard's there and you can just hear them all humming, on the trees because the orchards are so big. And even in Kelseyville, it's really kind of funny if you hear it. And they're doing their thing. They will make fruit off of a fruit tree. We're known here for our pears, and the bees do the same thing. Flowers are pretty much all the same looking as far as the parts, and that's what reproduces a fruit. And trees, fruit trees, they tell you, you just asked a question about the fruit trees, but I would buy one instead of trying to propagate it because it can take up to 10 years from a seed to actually get a fruit. I mean, you can do it for the kids as something, but really for fruit production or for you to eat an apple or something, it really takes an extremely long time. And that's why when you go to a nursery, you're buying a 3 to 7 year old tree or fruiting tree. So it's I'm not telling you to buy stuff, but it saves you 7 years. Let's put it that way. And the trees and the flowers both have makeup of this the same way. And let me see what else is here. And to grow flowers in your garden, like along here, and then you'll have your vegetables in your boxes, that's also attracting all the pollinators. Before, like here, he already has all the flowers, and now he's going to plant, so they're already going to be here. And that, he's doing it. He knows what he's doing here. This is a beautiful garden. Seriously, a beautiful garden. Yeah. And everybody that works on it should be extremely proud. I mean, just everything is perfect. So, and like over there, he'll probably be doing green beans. Where'd he go? Yeah, and they grow up and they have a flower, and then the pollinators go inside and underneath and pollinate all the string beans or whatever he's going to grow there. And cucumbers? Oh yeah.
Oh, fun.
I always
Love
just
that.
put mine on the ground.
Oh yeah.
I lay down straw as a weed barrier. You know, bale of straw now is a lot more expensive than it used to be, but I just put down straw, and then the cucumbers grow on top, or the melons, or anything like that. You don't have to have a structure like that. Is what I'm telling you. I do have a structure like that, but I plant flowering vines on it, and that also then attracts the pollinators that you want. So let's see what else we're going to talk about here. Yeah, so this one here is good. It's a list of pollinators, and they do give you the common name. So when you go to a nursery, you can write this down or bring it and say which ones you want. And then this one here is a good one. It's about the maintaining of the pollinators in your garden from year to year. So that's a really good one. And then this one is how to build a bee habitat.
Which you've kind of already done.
Yeah, they just come, Yeah, and what else ones we have here? Yeah, these are recommended bee pollinators for California, Nevada.
Oh, and if I can just say one thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that works really well when you're trying to start a pollinator garden in your own space, take a look around this garden here, because these are going to grow most likely wherever you live, unless you're living like in Spring Valley or out in Scotts Valley, where it's all bets are off a little bit.
Lakeport, Kelseyville.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good example of things that will grow, that will also bring pollinators into your home vegetable garden if you have one.
Okay, any questions so far? Good. All right, so we were just wanting to show you the interior of a flower here and how it is pollinated, so you understand. And then, of course,
Oh, Judy,
Yeah.
I've got a question.
Yeah,
How long does a flower bloom?
all of them are different.
Yeah.
All of them are really different. Like marigolds, you probably put marigolds here. They bloom all summer long. They can take the heat. Some can't take little poppies, or only spring. The orange ones out there, they won't take the heat after end of May. Probably they'll just go to seed, and every plant has a length of time that they bloom. So some are like, if you read about vegetables, tomatoes are 90 days. That means it takes 90 days to make a fruit. And the way you can learn about a lot of plants and vegetables is you read the seed package. They have extreme amount of information in that little 2 paragraphs behind in the back of the seed. It tells you the height, and the height is important because you don't want something this tall and then something this tall behind it. It will shade it more than, so you would go like this. If the sun's going this way, or this way, then you do, so.
Like this guy. All
Yeah.
this info on the
Yeah.
back
Mm-hmm.
is really helpful.
Very
Because don't forget,
helpful.
you're buying a product, and trust me, the seed companies want these things to grow for you.
Yeah.
They're not hoping it goes bust, because the next thing you'll say is, I'm not buying poppies from X company. Their poppy seeds are terrible. I'm going to go to a competitor, and so they've lost business. So they are very careful about telling you what they have discovered. It's not like when you go to to a store and they've got a plant that says water every 2 weeks and indirect light. That they don't get away with that. If they did that, most of them would be out of business, because they really think about what each plant does when it's in seed. And we all know that poppies are very, very good at self-seeding, as you can tell.
Yeah, these
But
are
for
all
the-
California poppies in the
But for
back
those
here.
of us that are trying to get poppies into the yard, this is a great way to go because they're all ready to go. In fact, they're good through the end of this year, according to the back of the package, which is down the bottom.
And soap root only flowers every 3 years, and then the stem comes up, and then each day a new flower opens and closes. So the pollinator only has that day to go pollinate it, and then the next stem, the other flowers will come up, and then they'll go, and then the next day the other stem, the flowers will come up, and then until it completes the cycle, and then that won't do that for the next
Yeah.
3 years.
Yep.
Great. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what do you recommend for pollinators for a winter garden?
There aren't really a lot.
There's not a lot. Lake County, you can have a fall garden here and you can have a spring garden here. After December, unless you're in a greenhouse or a hoop house or something like that, it's just really cold. But the leafy vegetables, they're good for winter. Broccoli, cauliflower, the Braxis family, they're really good for the winters or the falls that we have here. After that it rains and it's cold, it just beats down all the cells here on the whole plant, vegetable, flower, whatever, and they just die,
But a lot of the vegetables too. We don't do a lot of harvesting in
December.
that time of year just because nothing really is growing. Everything's dormant. Even the wildflowers or the flowers are all kind of just hunkering down for the winter.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to the grocery store and you look at an apple, it's not from California. It's from South America where they're having their summer. So a lot of it is just kind of like a time for the plants to kind of rest and regroup, and especially for a lot of the perennials is to get their root systems even more developed, what you want, because then they're going to be even better the following year or the following spring.
Until you have a greenhouse, then you can have 3 to 4 crops a year in the meantime.
And every county or state has what they call zones. It's called an agricultural zone. And like our zone is 8 or 9, 7, 8 or 9, whatever. And you cannot grow bananas here, a banana tree. You go to LA, their zone.
I have no idea. They're very warm.
They're very warm. You can grow bananas there. So, and the Central Valley, where we grow, California is lucky enough to have a ideal climate to grow, especially vegetables. They get to go into December, and then they get to stop and start again in February, where we could never do that here. And that's all. If you go online and you just Google agricultural zone and you put a zip code in, it'll pop right up and it'll tell you, and it'll also tell you what you can and can't grow in December, January, February.
Until you have a greenhouse.
Yeah, it's a little more. You have to heat them here, though.
Yeah.
You have to heat the greenhouses
An
here.
electrical bill that will put you in the
And then,
poorhouse.
your PG&E bill is quite high. So,
Depends on how you eat it,
yeah.
So, this picture,
Yeah.
is this for every pollinator?
The inside here is for every pollinator, correct? Yep. They're all pretty much. This is where the bees come in and they do their little thing in here, and they pollinate a flower on a tree, on a tulip, on these here. These are a perfect example here because they'll be just loaded with usually honeybees, because like yellow jackets, and everybody calls a flying thing that stings a bee, but it's really not. The bees are the less aggressive to you, but a yellow jacket, they won't want to pollinate. I'm not sure why yellow jackets are here.
They're
really
mean.
shouldn't be here, but
They're
they're here
mean.
anyway.
I
And
don't like 'em.
yeah,
You need to
nobody
leave.
really likes yellow, but so they wouldn't do anything to to pollinate these flowers, and then the bees will go. Like I have a bee tree that is a regular oak, and the wild bees have made a nest, and they're making all kinds of honey, and you can see them flying in and out. Pretty neat the way they do that, and they go and they get the pollen from the flowers, and then they fly back up into the tree, and the whole inside of the tree is just one big honeycomb.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Okay.
So,
From the inside rots out, and then they just made it a beehive.
yeah. Or you see the paper wasp. They're a really beautiful architectural thing that paper wasps make. They're the big gray. I don't know if you've ever seen them, and they usually hang off of something.
Oh my
But you got to kind of stay away from them.
Falls over, look at all the honey you get.
Yeah, right. And these are a little lissums here. These are really good. They're
pollinators.
yeah, and they're mostly ground cover. They don't get very big, but they'll also cascade over something like this. If you have a rock garden and you want something to cascade, they'll just, and they're just, bees just love them.
We already had a couple visitors while you were talking.
We did?
Yeah.
Oh,
Some of
good.
the non-honeybee pollinators have been checking out the stuff since we've gotten here. They've been looking.
This is a verbena. This is an annual here. Like it would be, an annual is something that dies in the fall. Perennial is something that will winter here. And then like these, I consider these reseeders because they seed like crazy. They won't make the winter, but they seed and they'll come back up.
Yep.
What is this
Yeah,
again?
yes,
This, I call it pincushion flower.
Yeah,
And these do really well. They come in all kinds of pretty colors. They're the really pretty lavender, and they're perennials. They'll winter here.
And they're very good at self-sowing because I've got one coming up in the oddest place. It's right on the edge of my little step that I have that goes into my yard, and the dog runs over it all the time, and the thing is getting ready to bloom. So they're tough, I can tell you, because I got a German Shepherd cross, and so he's a big guy. And they're really pretty. That's the other thing I like about a lot of pollinators. They're very pretty, but they also, this one will be attracting a lot of pollinators to come check it out. And that's what you want, is you want them to come because they're coming to get food. And that's important because they want to make sure that they can feed their eggs and leave things so that their next generation can survive.
Right. And if you want to put a thing like this out in your garden and fill it shallow, any kind of object that'll hold shallow, and then you put rocks in them, and then you put water in this, and the bees will come down and they'll get water and they'll go back to the hive. This is like a water feeder for bees, I guess you could.
It's a pollinator water station.
Yeah,
it's
a pollinator water station.
And some of my scrub jays like it very much because I put
yeah,
it
birds like it too.
I put it someplace where I thought it'd be perfect for bees, and the next morning I came out and all the plants around it were squashed to the nth degree, and I thought, what happened? And then I get a squawk from a scrub jay, and I realized that they were waiting for someone to finish, and they were sitting in my plants. So I moved it to someplace a little bit more scrub jay friendly, and it had a lot of perches where they wouldn't squish my plants.
So if anybody got this handout, it shows you the different kind of pollinators. So it starts out here with the bees, butterflies, hummingbirds that we kind of talked about, and there's some beetles, and that also, so anything that you see on a plant and you want to automatically squish it, I would take your phone or something and look it up before you start killing them off, because they're not all things that are on your plants are not bad. But this is a great little handout here. Kind of tells you in general what we have here in Lake County, and then on the back it goes into bats and more beetles or bugs. Difference between a beetle and a bug is the hard shell around it. So this is a really good one. And This is how to build, like I said, a bee habitat. Oh yeah, this is the same one. Okay, this one was, this is how to attract the pollinators, but we're talking about flowers and vegetable gardening here today, so that is the best way to attract them. And let me see, what else can we say?
Oh, if you are trying to get bees and butterflies and all kinds of pollinators into your yard, one of the things is, just like people, pollinators kind of don't want to waste a lot of time going back and forth to their home without a full load. So one of the things that most of the big pollinator nonprofits recommend is that when you plant a plant, try to plant the same plant in a 3x3 area. So like 1 square yard should all be like Nemesia or Verbena or Scabiosa, so that the pollinator can go and get like a full load and then head back to their home to unload their pollen or whatever they do next. Not an entomologist, so I don't really know that part. So that helps a lot with them, making it easy. The other thing too is plant things that your pollinator buddies will like. Since we've been sitting here, I've seen a couple of hoverflies come out, and it's one of the things is we always concentrate on honeybees because without them we'll all die. That's literally the truth, because they pollinate so much of the food we eat, and all their little cousins who all pollinate all the food we eat, that literally the earth would cease to exist as it is, because there wouldn't be any way for us to eat and for a lot of other animals and to eat either.
So what's about that invasion of that big, it looks like a yellow jacket, but it's bigger.
Oh, they got it. Washington State eradicated it. They swear that they got every last one of those little monsters.
Okay.
The murder hornet?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got them.
Okay.
They swear.
So we don't have to worry about any more invasion of that? Or?
Not that I'm aware of. They came in through Washington State.
Honeybees.
Oh yeah, no, that's one of the reasons why Washington wanted to get them gone, because they got a lot of crops up there that need bees to pollinate.
Everybody out with a flamethrower going.
I hope not. They have fire danger up there too. One of the other things too is as far as different kinds of pollinators, don't just swat at a fly and say, oh, that's a fly. It may not be. A lot of pollinator bees and a lot of pollinating insects start to mimic each other for various safety reasons for them. It's like a lot of butterflies mimic monarchs because monarchs are poisonous, and that's how they get away with that, is because they eat milkweed. And the milkweed is poisonous, but it's not to the monarch. So when an animal eats a monarch, depending on its size, it's either going to kill it, or it's going to make it very sick, which in the wild might be just as the same as something dying or being killed.
And milkweed is got the wrong name, but it's because when you break the stem, it comes out as a milky substance. But they're absolutely beautiful plant, and they do attract a lot of different pollinators. I have some in my garden that are just pink and big flowers, and there's butterflies on them all the time, and I live in the mountains and I don't get that many butterflies, but it's a very good pollinator plant to have.
And I would highly recommend that if you're going to put milkweed in your garden, please put narrow-leaf milkweed. That's the one that the monarchs in California like. Don't let them sucker you into just buying any milkweed, because it's not going to work so well for the monarchs. They really like narrow-leaf here in California, and since we've got pretty much the monarch butterfly superhighway, it's important to kind of make sure that we give them what they're looking for. And I got to tell you, the first time I saw monarch, the little caterpillars, I squealed. I was like, ah, like no pun here. It just was like, oh,
you got a caterpillar over here on the comfrey. I was looking over there, and there's some caterpillars on that over there. So you'll be having a butterfly hatching here pretty soon.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like, for me, I love geraniums. They are worth nothing to the pollinator community. And one of the things that a lot of, again, one very famous author who's very much into pollinating and wild gardens is a gentleman named Doug Ptolemy, and he says he follows the 70-30 rule. 70% of your yard should be, or your garden should be something that a pollinator can use. Now, vegetable gardens are a little bit different, and he was talking more about the kinds of gardens I like, which are flowers and cottage gardens and all that kind of garden. And he says then you can put 30% of the stuff that maybe isn't so popular with the pollinators, because they've got 70% of your yard to deal with. So that's how I get around and don't feel so guilty, because I love geraniums. There's something about them, they're so great, and they're so useless when it comes to a pollinator, but I like them. So there you are. And also a little trivia fact about our buddies, the hummingbirds. You know, we always put out the nectar for them, and we worry about them. And I found out that 75% of the hummingbird diet is actually those little tiny insects that fly around and annoy the living daylights out of us when they hatch. When I was a kid, they were called no-see-ums, or can't-see-ums. And hummingbirds, basically, that's like their steak. And and the nectar and the flowers are like the fruit and veg of their diet. So, you know, just remember that sometimes it's good not to spray if you're trying to get pollinators into your yard, because the spray will take out every single thing that a predator would want to eat, and that predator would be a hummingbird, a butterfly, a bee, and in this process probably would kill a lot of them as well. So we recommend you try really hard not to spray unless something's really, really dangerous or bad.
And you can spray water.
Yeah, water
on stuff.
You won't have too much problem with.
No, you will. Trust me, if you have good soil and you've got plants growing, you'll get pests. It's just like the nature of the beast, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Hummingbird question.
Yeah.
If you feed them sugar water, is that not healthy for them?
It's like,
because they act really aggressively
well, that's probably
in my yard, and I don't want to feed them because.
Well, one of the things is that a lot of the hummingbirds, at least in this part of California, are very territorial, and so if there's a hummingbird and a feeder, and it's an Anna's hummingbird, which is the one that I know is the most territorial, you practically need, I don't know how many hummingbird feeders, because literally the hummingbird will guard every single feeder that it can see. So what they recommend is that if you have hummingbird feeders, put one, and then put one like around the corner of your house or your apartment or whatever, so that they can't get a line of sight on the second. And then at least you'll get 2 territorial hummingbirds at your feeders. But the other thing too is don't ever worry about feeding hummingbirds like the nectar, because they are basically, they cover the entire United States every year. They've done studies on hummingbirds in the U.S., and they will cover every square inch of this country looking for their stuff. So my kind of thought is, if one hummingbird has seen my feeder, every hummingbird that's in the area will have seen it, because I think they also keep an eye on each other too, just, because they're so territorial. But the whole thing with them and the feeders, I'm not so good in with me, because I'm down in South Lake and it gets really hot, and the nectar turns bad really fast, which can kill them. I've seen photographs of hummingbirds that have drunk like tainted or over that has bacteria and stuff in it. Poor little things, they die, and they die with their little tongues sticking out of their beaks. It's heartbreaking, because they're so beautiful and they can't deal with that bacteria. It will kill them.
So the best thing is planting honeysuckle.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm trying to plant more plants, because plants don't go bad like that. And there's more. I have a feeling instinctually hummingbirds know, like, oh, this one may not be the one. You had a question. Question? No? Oh, okay. Anyway. So yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, because I feed them sugar water.
Yeah. 4 parts. Yeah, 4 parts sugar. 4 parts water, 1 part sugar. Or 3 to 1, whatever. And if you're trying to get them to come to your feeder for the first time, up the sugar content a little bit and make it sweeter than the usual, ratio. The sugar will still dissolve in. It just makes it more attractive to them because it's got a higher sugar content.
And they tell you not to use honey,
Yeah, just plain white sugar. No brown sugar, no honey, no agave, none of that. It's not going to work, and it'll make them sick, if not downright kill them. And we don't want that to happen. I'm sorry? No Kool-Aid either.
Kool-Aid.
No Kool-Aid. Dye is bad for them.
Okay, so there's a question over here. What about food dye to color the water?
No, don't. No.
If the feeder's red,
They
they'll
got it.
find it, you know. I'd stay away from the food coloring
Yeah,
too.
it's not good for them either, and also save the money because it's like because the feeder is red and yellow. I've done it now for years with no color. The hummingbirds don't care. They see that red on the feeder and they know exactly what it is, and they're on it. I mean, when they're really busy, I've heard people that have a lot of hummingbirds will go through an entire like large feeder in a day because they've got that many hummingbirds flying around, and all the nectar is clear. So they're fun. We like them.
Okay, any other questions about gardening or anything else?
I've never gotten the impression they were that good. I don't think they're bad, but if I was going to pick something, that might not be what I'd pick for a flower in my pollinator garden to start with. Or I'd count it as part of the 30%.
Yeah.
And if it works and they like it, well, bonus, but you're not taking away from that 70% that you know they're going to get, and they're going to, get
And
nectar and pollen from.
All kinds of articles on companion planting, which means, put something next to something else and it protects it from all kinds of insects. Like marigolds have a really funny smell, and they keep certain insects away from more leafy plants. Like tomatoes are pretty much have an odor to themselves, where they mostly get bacteria and fungal diseases. They're not really, except for the black horn worm, they don't get a lot of insects. But any of your lettuces or your soft vegetables, there's a whole segment on companion planting that is a natural pesticide and will help supposedly keep certain bugs off of your vegetables.
Yes.
So, I live in Napa, and
Uh-huh.
it's, the San Francisco fall comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of, millions of slugs and snails.
Yep.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's one
Yep.
thing I don't miss about living in the Bay Area.
Yep.
Is that.
Yep.
And what would be like a slug and snail go away for them to put around?
Well, I've heard a lot of and this would be something your parents would have to do. I've heard beer bottles work really well that have a little bit of beer in them, because snails and slugs seem to really like the yeasty, hoppy stuff. I've also
We really can't go into poison. As a master gardener, we can't tell you about what poisons and what chemicals
well, actually,
to buy.
It's not really a poison.
But
for
the
slugs
beer,
themselves. The beer works really well.
That's yeah.
They can't handle salt.
I don't like the salt because there's no place to get rid of it, and then it's in your soil, and then your plants start to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
So at that one, I would use that as a quart of last resort, or if you're using it someplace where it's like
soil, then you make your soil
Sometimes if you could take a tuna can and you put water in it, and then you put a little oil in it, like a little vegetable.
That'll get earwigs.
Yeah,
a lot.
and that'll good for you. If you got slugs, you also got earwigs. Those are the little pincher bugs. Yeah.
If you're looking for something a little bit not quite as like a beer bottle or a tuna can or whatever, there are a couple of there's a reputable company out there. As master gardeners, we cannot endorse any particular product, which is why we're kind of skirting around the names of these things. But let's put it this way: what it's called sounds like when you get up at bat and you slug the living daylights out of a ball. Let's just say that. Got it, Mom? No, slug on. Yeah. And because we're best friends, I can tell you this, not as a master gardener, but as two friends. But yeah, that one's really good. It's also very, very, it's not harmful to pets. So if you have dogs that are nosy like mine, other birds can eat it. I watched an entire flock of swallows basically swallow all of my pellets, and I'm thinking you guys are going to die, and I looked it up online, and no, they don't. It just does not impact wildlife at all. It's the snails that get and the slugs, which we don't like anyway. So yeah, Yeah,
Yeah.
the pellets work really well. And if you're not squeamish, which I am, and I don't like handling these things, you can also pick them off of things and put them in soapy water. So then, and then just dump the water out somewhere. But
Or
I
if you
don't
have
like
chickens,
to-
chickens
Ooh,
love
chickens
them.
love them. Just pick them off the
Absolutely
chickens.
love them.
I know, and I'm like, I'm not eating any egg from that goof. But so I know for like a lot of the larger the larger caterpillars, and if people who have chickens, a lot of times actually will like harvest all the slugs and snails and give them to their chickens, because that's another way to get them gone without any kind of poison or any kind of application of any kind of anti-slug stuff or anti-snail stuff. Well, it's hard with the chickens running around because they don't know not to eat all the stuff that the slugs are on. That I've heard is the problem, is they like eating the veggies too. I would say also another one is like one of the big ones that people don't like is the tomato hornworm, and they're the big green. I've heard people also will basically definitely pull those off and feed their chickens. Mm-hmm. One of the other things you can do, which is helpful to the bird population around us, is pull them off the tomato and put them someplace where there are no tomatoes. I guarantee you a bird will pick that thing off faster than you can think. And it's really good for birds to get the caterpillars. They're really high in all the nutrition that birds need to go into nesting season and to raise their chicks. It's one of the things that they like because it's really calorically dense and I guess nutritionally dense if you're a bird. Obviously we're like going ew, but that's one way to get rid of them. But again, you have to touch them, which is not always my favorite, but it works. And you get and then the birds get the benefit of the caterpillar, which they really can use. And no harm, no foul as far as no poisons, no nothing in the soil that's going to hurt. And tomato hornworms are pretty benign when it comes to interactions with human beings, so they're not going to sting or bite or hurt anyone. They're just obnoxious about the tomatoes.
So we brought some samples of dried seeds here from flowers that were harvested last year.
Calendula and hollyhocks.
Yeah, these are hollyhocks here, and this is the flower that dried. And this is such a beautiful example of Mother Nature here, because these are all seeds, and they're just perfectly lined up. And if you just pick them out, they're everywhere.
So if you would like some,
and this is how a bird will go on here and he'll take a seed, and all of a sudden you have something over there, and you go, I never planted it yet there, but the bird did. And these are beautiful, dried even,
Yeah, I never got a chance to clean them, so they're basically dried flowers with the seeds inside.
Mm-hmm.
But I brought
what they
bags
look like
if you'd like
after
to help
they
yourself.
flowered.
There's calendulas and hollyhocks and bags.
Yeah, here, and then
Yes.
these are calendulas.
My plants were like, okay, this one isn't going, so if I go just fed it some plant food, like gnat seed. But I've been, the year before, I have been working with mulch and like putting around in my local garden at Napa, and it helps the plants a lot.
Yes, it does.
And we were
You have
like,
a junior
okay,
gardener
so,
here.
how do we make mulch to help
Well,
the plants?
mulch is basically like the wood chips that are all over here in the area where we're sitting. That's a kind of a mulch, and like you said, mulch works for two. It's good weed suppressor if you put it down thickly enough. I think it's like 2 inches of mulch, and any weed that goes through is going to be really easy to pull if one's brave, if one can get that tall. And it does help keep the soil cool, which is good, and the soil moist, which is good. A lot of, in this one, because it is wood, will break down, and over time you'll have to replace it because it's going to become basically compost into the soil. One of the other things we recommend is compost, specifically just compost, so that it not only is there, like maybe wood mulch in the compost, but there's also, a breakdown of a lot of other things that provide nutrients to the plants that you're, surrounding it with. So yeah, and the mulch basically is like for like wood chips. It's just, if I know a lot of counties, and I'm pretty sure Napa does too. is you call up your tree company or the local tree companies and say, hey, you got any chips for me or for us? And they love to deliver them for free because they have to take them to the dump and pay the dump to take them away. So they're very happy to give them because it saves them a lot of money. And you can always give them a call, your mom can call or whatever, and see if they've got chips. And and then you can just spread to your heart's content. And it's amazing the difference even wood chips will make in your garden. Keeping the soil cooler and a little bit more moist, it's amazing what will pop up.
I would use these wood chips to walk on. I put for my boxes that I have, I use like a straw. It's the shaft of hay that they feed horses, but it's only the shaft. So it has no seeds or very little seeds, very thick. You can put it around, just cover your whole bed there, and then it helps keep the soil even temperature, holds down weeds, and then in the fall or next spring, you just turn it under as a soil amendment, and it helps aerate the soil. It's very good to incorporate also, especially after winter when it breaks down more.
Yeah, I got a new thing, or I have a container and I take the waste from the kitchen and throw in there, but I have worms in there. And the worms turn it back into black dirt.
Yep.
So it gives you worm gas.
Yep. Master gardeners are really into worms or worm farms or the little containers you can buy for.
I'm growing blackberries in a big container, and then you take your kitchen waste, throw in there, and there's worms in it, so it's a live bed. And then once you throw it in there, when the worms get ready, they just eat it, turn into dirt.
So you're not composting the vegetable or the kitchen scraps, you're just putting it in the...
Are you using it for worm feed?
Yeah, but I mean on top of your plants then?
No, beside them, around them.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Where I grow my squashes, I actually have to, when I'm not growing it, I do that, then the worms eat it, and then I have to cut back and not do that while I'm growing squashes. But the blackberry doesn't matter. I just put it in there and let it go.
Because deteriorating food scraps take a lot of nitrogen. If you just put them in the soil, it takes a lot of nitrogen out of the soil to break that down. That's why compost is always advised to...
Yeah, but the worms are eating it, and it's all sorts of worm castings.
Yeah, no, worm castings are really good. They're very rich. Do you have a question?
Well, a comment. So since we got onto composting.
Yeah, sure.
So if you do have a chicken, because we were talking about feeding the caterpillars to the chickens, the chicken poop will help your compost stay warm during the winter time to keep composting. So
high in nitrogen is what chicken manure is high. That's why it steams and looks. It's all the nitrogen.
Good to let it compost down because sometimes it's too high in nitrogen and you can burn your plants because they don't have any way to say, oh, stop. So that always is a good idea to compost, and it does. And it's a really good addition to compost for the simple fact is it does help keep it warm, but it also has a lot of nutrients in it as well.
So the rabbit poop is better.
The one I would recommend not to get involved with is probably horses and cattle. Unless you've got a bed that can really get hot, because they eat a lot of stuff that has a lot of seeds that you don't want in your garden. So it's like stick with chickens, stick with rabbits, stick with things that you can kind of control what they eat. Because, I mean, people say, oh, my horses only eat, they don't have any seeds in their poop. And it's like, prove it. I don't want to pay that kind of money and end up having to fight more weeds because I'm using compost and mulch to get rid of weeds.
Yeah, so that's why you don't see it at the nursery in bags either.
Because they do pasteurize a lot of the stuff in bags, so it's not. But if you're getting it from like your neighbor or something like that, it's a little different. But the stuff in bags, I believe, does have to be pasteurized because it's poop.
It's heated,
Yeah, and it's poop. So we don't want that there. Now, I just want to put a little pitch in for a really great book. If you're interested in learning more about garden, Bee Friendly Gardens. It's a book called The Bee Friendly Garden. Yes.
So, what kind
would say you might want to almost mulch with compost. I wouldn't, because a lot of times what happens with like wood chips is they do take up nitrogen out of the soil,
Right.
and you don't want that when you've got vegetables, especially if you're growing things like lettuce or something where you're going to be eating the leaf. Compost does the same thing and supplies the nutrients, and then maybe during the off season when maybe that bed is just lying fallow, then you could use the wood chips to kind of cover it up and let it just rest for like the winter time. Even though I know in California we can get away with having almost 4 seasons worth of veggies, but you got to give everybody a vacation here once in a while, I think. So that might be one way to do it. And again, you can find all those things at your local garden store or big box store, and I know you got a lot in Napa, so it's, and the bag stuff again is safer because it has been pasteurized. Another great thing is if you can find worm castings and add worms to your garden beds. They're really good at aerating the soil and moving things from the surface to inside. And it's amazing how much they can move in a year. Many years ago, Charles Darwin, our friend of, survival of the fittest and all, he actually, the last thing he was studying was earthworms, because he was fascinated by how something so small could end up moving so much material in the course of a year. And he measured it out that I think if like you have like a certain amount of square footage and it has earthworms, they'll move a ton of literally 2,000 pounds of organic matter back into the soil, or in one end out the other, and it's then worm castings are what they call black gold, black dirt. So definitely, yeah, so definitely that's what I would do. But the thing is that a lot of things with gardening, you sort of have to sometimes experiment a little bit and see what's going to happen if you do something a certain way. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, I must do what the adult says. No, I'm just giving you suggestions. So you can figure out, you can kind of say, hey, and keep track. One of our master gardeners has kept a journal every day or every couple of days. She says what's going on. It's raining, it's hot, it's whatever's going on. Oh, my tomatoes bloomed, or they're, I'm starting to pick my cucumbers. And she says it's really interesting to go back and look. Not too many years ago, she actually went back 5 years on the same date, and she said no date was exactly the same. The weather was different, what was blooming, what was being picked, what was being taken care of was all different. So it's kind of fun to do because you can see, if that's something that interests you, that's another thing to kind of do. And I would also like to highly recommend that if there's a Junior Master Gardener program through your 4-H 4-H group down in Napa, you should check them out. I think you are made for it. Yeah, it's a spin-off from the 4-H group, so you have to be young, not old like me, and you learn about gardening and all kinds of good things. And if you contact your 4-H coordinator for Napa County, they should be able to tell you if they do or not, or where the nearest one is that you could maybe go check out and see if it's something you might want to do. You're welcome. And I can also see.
I got a question for that.
Yeah.
Because I'm part Native American basket weaver, so I had to make a place for my basket weaving plants and turn it into an ecosystem. Through my ecosystem, I can process all organics, and then the plants, when they dry off, you can flip that for mulch. So it's all been purified, and then the plant sucked up all the nutrients. Now the nutrients are in the plant, and they use that for mulch.
Yeah, you can do that. We call that chop and drop.
Chop and drop.
Chop and drop.
Okay,
yeah.
I made myself a chop and drop.
Yeah, that works. Especially if you're using it for something else and you've got the little extra pieces, just put them on the ground. It's going to be fabulous for those, because all of those plants are more, I would almost consider them more wild than cultivated, because I don't really know anything about them except I know they grow wild.
My system was tested, and it sucks up all the nitrate, phosphorus, and all that, and it comes out P87. And I can put wood ashes in it, and it still comes out P87. So it 100%.
Yeah.
But no, I just set it for mulch.
Yeah, no, that works. You got to keep the organic material in the soil. It's very important for us as gardeners to have that, because pure rock isn't going to grow anything, and pure mulch isn't really going to grow anything. Although I have seen people grow things in mulch, but it's not recommended because it decomposes too quickly, and then you're kind of stuck constantly feeding the planter. But yeah. So anyway, just real quick again, Bee Friendly Garden by Kate Fry and a bee specialist from Berkeley named Gretchen Lebun or Lebun, and it's all about what kind of plants work well in your garden for bees. Kate Fry is a master gardener she was a master gardener in Mendocino County for many years. She's a landscape designer and has actually gone to England in the Chelsea Flower Show, if you're a big geek like I am, and has met the Queen because she won, or before the Queen passed away. So anyway, but it's a really good book. She's from here, and so she knows what our summers are like because she was originally in Hopland, which is basically like, it's sort of like Lakeport and the rest of Lake County in the summertime. So she knows what kind of needs to be done, and it's a really good book, a lot of good info. This is one of my go-to books for pretty much anything. So, any more questions or anything for anybody? Yeah.
Where would you find that book?
This book? Oh, Amazon bookstore. Probably Amazon would not have to order it. I don't know. Maybe Barnes and Noble. I'm not really sure because we have one bookstore here and it's all used and I've had this thing for probably how long is?
So what's the title again?
It's called The Bee Friendly Garden. Hold on.
The Bee Friendly Garden.
Bee Friendly
Does it have
Garden.
a BN number?
Here, I'll do it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, and it does have an ISBN number, which is also helpful. But yeah.
Write down the ISBN number and then you get the exact book.
And if you're not interested in a book or you want to learn more, I can highly recommend Pollinator Partnership in San Francisco, the Xerces Society, which is XERCES, also has a lot of information about pollinators and how to, get them to your garden because they do make a difference. That's why there's all the big thing about bee houses. You can build those yourself. They're really easy. You just need a plank of wood. It's untreated, a drill.
What was that again?
Making solitary bee houses. They're really.
What's the book?
Oh, the book.
Pollinator. What? Or the organization?
Oh, the Pollinator Partnership in San Francisco, and then there is the Xerces Society, and it's XERCES, and it's also all about pollinators.
And
it's
how
all.
many bees is that covered?
I'm sorry.
How many bees is that covered?
Every bee that is known to man in the world.
So I got the honeybees, the bumblebees, the bumblebees.
Yeah, and just FYI, honeybees are not native to the United States. They were brought over by the settlers because they wanted honey. They are the only, as far as I know, the only bee that actually makes something from what they collect, because their whole setup is entirely different than the solitary bees that mostly do the lion's share of the work in crops and things.
We had honeybees here because there was a report came out from the Aztec movement here, after that.
Not very. The Aztecs didn't have honeybees. They were all from Europe. They might have had another bee that made something, but it wasn't the honey that we know. Unless Cortez or one of them brought them with him, which I doubt, because they were not there to.
Well, they were making honey beer before him.
Yeah, but you need hops for beer, and that's not bees.
Well, there's all kinds of fermented drinks.
Yeah.
But they were making honey beer. I don't know they were using hops.
Well, they might have brought it with them from Europe, that's for sure, because they used to make mead and things like that, which is fermented honey. But that was from Europe, and they had honeybees because that's where they're from originally. They've kind of naturalized, obviously, over the 300-400 years that they've been here, but they aren't native to the United States.
Okay, I just remember I read a report saying that they met a group of people and they were making honey beer when they met them.
Who met who?
Cortez.
Cortez, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to look into that. Cool. So anyway, thank you so much. So it's a lot of fun studying them. I'm not an entomologist by any stretch of the imagination. I don't like things that sting. Unfortunately, honeybees are the only ones that do. But the thing to remember is honeybees seem to instinctively know that once they sting you, they're dead. So they're not really interested in using that stinger unless it is a matter of life and death for their hive. And if you're just encountering one, out in your whatever, don't pay them, never mind. Because they're really not interested in you. They want to get pollen, get back to the hive, and drop off their load and start again. because their lives are pretty short too. They're about 45 days and then they're done. They basically work themselves to death. So, yeah. No, wasps and hornets and those guys can sting and sting and sting, which is why I'm not a big fan. I don't think anybody is, but yeah, and they don't really do anything for pollinators. Yeah.
Why beekeepers got to dress up when they go harvest their honey?
Because they're messing with the hive, and that's dangerous to bees. That's very dangerous. That's why they use the smoke and a lot of things. One of my colleagues from when I was working full time actually had, like Judy was saying, had a beehive in an old oak tree in her backyard, and she lived there when her boys were tiny, and she said in the entire time she lived there, they never bothered her. The only time they would kind of buzz her, like going, "Lady, what are you doing?" was when she went to water the plants that were around the oak tree. And that is the only time that they showed any kind of like, "Hey, what are you doing?" But they were not aggressive to her at all. It's because that hive thing is what they're kind of all programmed, that they will die for the hive, kind of, I guess. And if you don't mess with the hive, or you put smoke and you know what you're doing with the bees, you're pretty okay. But they just wear that because sometimes if, just accidents happen, or maybe somebody's having a bad day and you don't want to get stung, because that's no fun, because usually it starts if one gets stung, they all start stinging. So, but yeah, so it's like, for the most part, if you're just like me and you're not a beekeeper and you're just planting plants, they're really not that dangerous to you. However, if you are allergic to bee stings, please be extra careful. Make sure you've got your EpiPens or whatever your doctor has, said you need to have very quickly, so you don't have a problem if you do get stung accidentally by a bee. I got stung one time when I was riding a bicycle because I collided with it, and sure enough, I got stung because I could feel it hit me, and I thought, what was that? And then all of a sudden I went, uh-oh, and I could feel it start to happen. But fortunately I'm not allergic to bee stings, but if I was, I would have been reaching for my EpiPen right away. So don't think because they're kind of gentle and maybe they won't sting that they don't ever sting. We want everyone to be here next year to listen to this conversation again.
Also, they can sting you if they're dead and still have their stinger.
Yes, I'd heard that. Yeah, so.
And I know that because I got stung by one when I was swimming a thing, and I went to touch the side, the bee was there, and I got stung.
And here's your other useless trivia thing about about honeybees. They love chlorinated water, which is why they always want to be around swimming pools. Go figure. I don't get it, but that's what, don't have a pool either because I don't want to drown. So yeah, so they do, and you can find them there. And it's like, yeah, they can sting even if they're even if they're dead. If they haven't used their stinger to die, they can sting you. So again, be careful. Get those EpiPens if you're allergic. Listen to your doctors, your medical providers. I want you all here next time when we talk about pollinators again. Thank you.
Hey, Dawn, you want to?
Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up. We do have a survey for you guys to fill out. You can try scanning your phone. Or are you going to hand it out? Okay. Wait, so we have a scanner. QR code.
And where can I put these so people can help themselves?
Okay, you have calendula and what was the other one?
Hollyhocks.
Hollyhocks
and plastic bags to put seeds in.
Yeah, so we have calendula, hollyhocks, and plastic bags to put it in.
Actually, I'll just
great
put it
pollinator plants.
And easy to grow.
Yes.
Easy to grow.
Yeah, hollyhocks
So
will self-seed. Let me just do
for
this. There we go. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for talking and
Thanks
our
for making
pleasure.
a really good salad.
Yeah, thank you.
So
You guys are
fill out
awesome
the
audience.
survey and hand it back to me or Dawn or Trevor.
There's a front and a back.
Yeah, there's front and back.
Oh.
Plants.
Yeah, I don't know what colors they are, but they are from a garden that is just exquisite. She's one of our master gardeners, and her garden is just, oh my gosh. I wish my garden looked that good. Pardon?
I killed a marigold too myself.
Ah, they're lovely too. I like them.
I better put the seed here.
There we go. Yeah, oops, there we go.
And the other one.